It's no secret that I love the Generation 3 era of Pokemon. Actually, it's no secret that I'm just insane for Pokemon in general, as seen from a previous video where I spent 16 hours in the Viridian Forest leveling up a Pidgey into a Pidgeot, or the time that I leveled up a Zigzagoon all the way to level 100 on the very first route of the game without ever having it battle against a single trainer. I don't know why, but I just really like leveling up my Pokemon and doing these tedious challenges live on my Twitch channel, which you can find linked in the description. Now, Pidgey was for Professor Oak's challenge, and the Zigzagoon was so I can have a level 100 Pokemon with the pickup ability to get rare candies in other games I plan on trading the Zigzagoon over to, as an Emerald version and Fire Red and Leaf Green, you can only get rare candies via pickup if you have a pickup Pokemon level 91 or above, while in Ruby and Sapphire the level of the pickup Pokemon doesn't matter, and having a high level pickup Pokemon is a useful thing that I want to have for an upcoming project I'm working on in Fire Red and Emerald version. While I could just transfer over Luffy the Zigzagoon right now to Emerald version and be done with it, why not actually use this Pokemon to battle and not just as a utility Pokemon to sit in the back of the party to pick up rare candies for us? This Zigzagoon is named Luffy, and its namesake is all about being the best he can be, so why not make Zigzagoon the best it can be by giving it an entry in the Hoenn Hall of Fame and cementing that by beating the entire game of Pokemon Ruby version with only a single level 100 Zigzagoon. I can pretty confidently say that this has never been done before, because who else besides me has ever got a Zigzagoon to level 100 in Ruby and Sapphire before ever setting foot outside of Oldale Town? Surprisingly, as popular as Solar Run videos have been on YouTube over the last few years, I haven't been able to find too many using just a Zigzagoon in Ruby and Sapphire, let alone a level 100 Zigzagoon, so let's become king of the goons and beat Pokemon Ruby with only a Zigzagoon. That last sentence sounded fine when I wrote it on the script, but saying it out loud, I'm sorry. Before we venture out to Oldale Town, let's cut to our resident Pokemon professor, Professor Tree, so he can explain to us why so few trainers use just a lone Zigzagoon when trying to become the champion of the Hoenn region. It's really weak. Thank you, Professor Tree, for that valuable insight, but to give more of a perspective, Zigzagoon has a base stat total of only 240, which is 25% less than Natu, and nobody even knows what Natu even is. At least Luffy can handle these early route trainers with ease despite its low stats. You might think that that's obvious because it's level 100 and all these Pokemon are like level 5, but this challenge is actually one of the most difficult Pokemon challenges you can do in Pokemon Ruby version, and trust me, I'm a YouTuber and I'm saying this on the internet, so it must be true. YouTubers would never lie on the internet. I understand the whole premise of One Piece is the power of friendship or whatever, with Luffy doing whatever he can to protect his Straw Hat crew, but in this video, Luffy is on his own and doesn't have his friends Ichigo or Sakura by his side. He'll still reach the Grand Line though, and by Grand Line I just mean being sent to my Emerald version or Fire Red version. However, Luffy's friends are still technically in the party, just so I can have pick up rare candies in the back, but they never get sent out of battle or do anything really, and I think I only pick up like 1 or 2 rare candies in the rest of the playthrough. When we make it to Petalburg City, our dad asks us to teach this bozo how to catch a Pokemon. Little does he know that I've already surpassed his power with just one little silly raccoon. I also never caught anything that wasn't a Zigzagoon at this point before, so I guess this was a new experience for us. We continue to decimate all these intrepid trainers with their pathetic low-level Pokemon, which included the forest where we see this guy in a fursuit or whatever. He has a level 9 Poochyena, of course, which is a much higher level than all the Poochyenas we're used to facing on Route 101. I just used COVID on it, all these hearts fly out of Luffy, then the Poochyena goes down. I guess this was like Gum Gum Love Beam or something, I don't really know, I'm not even 200 episodes deep into One Piece yet. On the other side of the forest, I immediately just make a beeline to the gym to fight Roxanne and her Rock-type Pokemon. Under normal circumstances, having a low Normal-type Pokemon against a Rock-type gym isn't ideal, but normal circumstances rarely ever occur on this channel. Roxanne leads with a Geodude, and just to make sure I can one-shot it, I go for Belly Drum to max out our attack stat. Geodude resists Normal-type moves and Bug-type moves, which is all we have access to right now on Zigzagoon, and we're only 86 levels above this Geodude, so this will be a pretty close call. Losing half of our total HP is a lot for this, but even though Headbutt is a resisted attack on Geodude, we still one-shot it. She then sends out her Nose Pass, and I hate this thing since depending on what your Pokemon team looks like at this point of the game, it can be a real pain to deal with. Just to assert our dominance, I go for Pin Missile, a resisted multi-hit move with each hit only being 15 base power, which is one of the lowest in the game if you don't account for the fact that it hits multiple times. Even though it's resisted and so weak, all we need is one single Pin Missile to land to knock out this stupid Nose Rock. Great job, Luffy. The next day I continue our adventure and save Mr. Brownie from the weird fursuit guy. Why do these guys keep appearing? Mr. Brownie has a boat and Luffy is a pirate, so you already know that these two will get along real well. Before we meet Brownie at his house to sail across the ocean, we pick up the cut HM. I hope something on our team can learn this HM. I make this joke about 3 more times in the video, and I'm not sorry about it, by the way. At least now we can sail on over to Dewford and get the old rod from the fisherman. We don't need this at all in this playthrough since we're only using a single Zigzagoon, so I don't know why I'm including this part in the video. I guess we can use it as an excuse to remind you guys to leave a like and subscribe, as I spent quite a few hours training the Zigzagoon to level 100 on Route 1, just for this video. Next I head into the Granite Cave to find Steven, and forget that we need Flash so we can't see. I'm a big fan of being able to see, but Zigzagoon unfortunately doesn't learn Flash despite learning a lot of other HM moves. Our first encounter here is an Abra anyway, which does learn Flash, so we caught it on our first try after throwing a Pokeball. It took me 4 attempts in my yellow Professor Oak's challenge video just to get a stupid Abra, and we get it first try in this video when it doesn't even matter. Nice. I then realized that we need the second badge to use Flash outside of battle and proceed through the cave, and unfortunately for us, the second gym leader is Brawly, who if you couldn't guess by his name, specializes in fighting type Pokemon. Zigzagoon is normal type and weak to fighting types, and if you haven't noticed, every single gym leader in Hoenn has a name that relates to their type in some way, shape, or form. Roxanne for rocks, Brawly for fighting, Watson for electric, Flannery kinda sounds like fiery or flamey, Norman for normal, which is one of the most obvious ones, and Winona for the flying type Pokemon in the wind, and then honestly, I don't really understand what the Taden Lies I have to do with Psychic type Pokemon, but Wallace kinda sounds like water or ice or waterfall, maybe combined. Anyway, back to Brawly. He has a type advantage against our Zigzagoon. It'll be a struggle to get through him with such a disadvantage and only about 80 levels on his ace Pokemon. As the battle starts, I go for Covet and try to steal his lead Machopp's item, but it doesn't have an item, and then I go for Covet on the Makuhita as well, and knock them both out in one try for our second gym badge. Now that we have the power of sight, we can finally find Steven to give him the letter. I don't understand why the CEO of a big company asked a child to deliver a letter to his rich son when he owns a company that makes the Pokemon equivalent of the iPhone and could have just texted him or sent him an email or whatever. But I also trained a Zigzagoon to level 100 on Route 101, so I don't think I have the right to question other people's strange decisions. With the letter delivered, we can go back on the boat, which Luffy loves, and head into Slateport City. There must be a furry convention in town or something with all these weird guys hanging around the museum. Luffy can take care of the red-suited foes here, and the leader of the pack comes out and just talks to us for a little bit. I don't really care about the story in this game, as I just want to get through it as quickly as possible so I can use this Zigzagoon as a tool for my shiny hunting endeavors in Emerald version, as well as this other insane idea for a video that I want to make on Pokemon Fire Red, which I'll need him for, and it's also something in Fire Red that not many people, if any, have ever done before, so it should be pretty neat. Back to Slateport though, there really isn't too much to do here, so we continue due north and have one of the most infamous rival fights in all of Pokemon. This one can be really difficult, especially if you aren't prepared. I was a little bit too prepared, I guess you can say, as I have a level 100 Zigzagoon on our party, so I could lay waste to our rival's intrepid team in just 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Is the joke of saying that the battles are hard when I'm very over-leveled getting old yet? Probably, but I'm going to keep doing it anyway as I'm a YouTuber and we love to run jokes into the ground. Once in Mauville City, we find the Aroma Lady, who is so powerful that she can walk up ledges, something that even our powerful Luffy can't do. There is another person we can fight here before the gym, but he isn't nearly as impressive as the Aroma Lady. It's just Wally. He thinks he's ready to take on the gym and challenge it, but Luffy thinks otherwise, so go back to Verdanturf with your uncle and go cry about how much of a failure you are, Wally. That was a little bit too harsh. I probably shouldn't have said that, but he's just a video game character, so he's not even real. At least for Watson's electric type gym, we don't have a type disadvantage against his main type as we did for the previous 2 gyms. We wouldn't have any type disadvantage at all in Emerald version, but Wally's Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire team is a bit weird as he has Magnemite, Voltorb, and Magneton, 2 of which are steel types which resist normal, and in Emerald version he has a Manectric, an actual Gen 3 Pokemon. I don't know why they did that for Ruby and Sapphire. Since he has 2 Steel-type Pokemon though, I Belly Drum to ensure the knockouts, but we get paralyzed. Luffy does what Luffy does best though and defies the odd, breaking out of the paralysis and collecting our 3rd gym badge. This battle kinda reminded me of Luffy's fight against Crocodile, except instead of fighting an evil warlord who wants to like steal Lorraine or whatever, we fought against a giant magnet. Since reaching level 100, it's only taken us about an hour of gameplay to get to this point of the game with 3 badges already. The story begins to pick up here though, with each badge being separated a little bit more, like how I have to go to Fallarbor Town before we fight Flannery. Haha, get it? The story picks up and we're using the pickup ability. The annoying part about heading north of Mauville is that the Rock Smash rock is in the way that reappears every time you come back to this route, and we have to pass through here quite a few times at this point of the game. Luckily for us, I think we have a Pokemon on our team that can learn Rock Smash, or maybe 6. Some guy along this journey tells us about the secret power and gives us the TM for it, not realizing we already have the ultimate secret power in a level 100 Zigzagoon named Luffy. From here I just push through Fall Arbor Town into Meteor Falls. I know I said I wouldn't focus on the story too much, but what even is going on in Meteor Falls? How are there craters in the cave? Don't the craters come from meteors falling from the sky? Are there holes in the ceiling? Why did they change the color palette of this room from this yellow sandy color in Ruby and Sapphire to this weird gray and emerald version? Why are there furries here, and who are these weird blue bandana guys? Luffy will probably like these blue bandana guys though, since they have boats and like water and stuff too. Next, we're told to go to the top of some mountain to thwart some furries' plans, including to fight against their leader, Maxie. He leads with a Mightyena that has Intimidate, but I go for COVID anyway, as the Mightyena lives. Probably because COVID's only 40 base power and we got intimidated, but I just kept going for it because no one ever uses this move. It's basically just a normal type version of Thief. It was kind of funny while grinding to level 100, as sometimes we'd go for COVID and steal an Oran Berry from a Zigzagoon, but since then we haven't stolen any items really. Maxie potions just to fall the next turn, then Luffy just headbutts his other 2 team members. This guy has given me trouble in Nuzlocke in the past, and who knew that all I needed to get through him with no issues was a level 100 Zigzagoon. Another thing about this game that annoys me is the meteorite. After clearing out Team Magma, you have to interact with this table or whatever to collect the meteorite yourself. It's easy to forget and not realize you forgot to pick it up until much later in the game, and I've been there before. I'm sure someone watching this video forgot to pick it up when they were a kid, got to Mount Pyre, and were like, what the heck's going on? Why can't I progress? We can at least now focus on challenging some gyms now, like Flannery and her Fire-type Pokemon. Her Pokemon can burn our Pokemon, which is pretty annoying. Since we're over 70 levels above her entire team, we outspeed them before they have a chance to burn us. Why does Flannery have 2 Slugmas anyway? Also, why does Slugma evolve at level 38? Who is using this tiny little fire slug that long? I had to grind one to level 38 in Pokemon Coliseum for the Professor Oak's challenge that I'm working on, and surprisingly Magcargo was a better fire type in Coliseum than Entei, so maybe I was wrong all along and I should use Magcargo in a future video, especially if it's stronger than this legendary beast who married Ash's mom or whatever. While rambling about Magcargo, I COVID her Torkoal, which lives. She then hits us with an attract, causing Luffy to fall in love and get immobilized by love. If this happened to Sanji, I'd believe it, but come on Luffy, it's just a turtle. Maybe Luffy is more in line with Team Magma and not Team Aqua after all. Once we land another attack, we knock out her Torkoal for the 4th gym badge, so we can return to Showdown against our father in Petalburg City. He leads with a Slacking, and we only have 72 levels on it, so I decide to headbutt instead of COVID, which it still lives. Then Norman uses a Hyper Potion. I just keep headbutting until it falls. We lost a whopping 30 HP from that first Slacking, but then he goes into another even higher level Slacking that also lives a headbutt, goes for a Facade, and then he potions again. We knock it out without taking any more damage at least, but then his final Pokemon is Vigoroth, which also falls to a headbutt. That was a close call. I mean, I lost about a quarter of my HP in that fight, which is the most I've lost if you don't count belly drum damage. I should also probably mention that at this point of the game, I deposited a Rattata in the daycare next to Mauville City. I only had this Rattata because I needed an Everstone so Luffy wouldn't evolve while training to level 100, and I had one in my Fire Red to trade over. As of writing the script, I haven't checked on the Rattata, so we can do it live at the end to see how many levels it's gained. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, I forgot to get the Surf HM in Petalburg City after beating Norman, so I had to bike all the way back there. I hope something in our party can learn Surf. This whole ordeal of forgetting Surf, messing around, traveling around the region, then making it to the Weather Institute, or Winstitute as the cool kids call it, took around 30 minutes. I made sure not to surf on Luffy yet though, since Luffy can't swim. The Weather Institute was infiltrated by furries, which is a horrifying statement to say out loud. For saving the Winstitute, we're rewarded with a cast form though, but it isn't a level 100 Zigzagoon, so I take the Mystic Water it was holding and deposit cast form in the PC for eternity. Actually, this save file will probably just be reset once I transfer Zigzagoon out of it, so this cast form will just be snapped out of existence whenever I need to play through Ruby again, since I always play on official hardware now, as you can see from the 2 GameCubes behind me. Outside of the Winstitute, we fight our rival who has a Shroomish. Please don't murder me. We narrowly escaped that fight, as none of our Pokemon even got an attack off on Luffy. This leads us to Fortree City, which has one of my favorite themes in all of Pokemon. I played this game muted though while listening to Pokemon Lo-Fi on the stream, so I didn't get to hear the Fortree City theme while playing through the video, but at least you guys can hear it in the background of the video. Before we challenge Winona, we have to meet Steven so he can show us his cool telescope his dad made so we can see Kecleon. Seems like an incredibly niche product to make, especially when the Sylph Company in Kanto already has a very similar product that lets us see Pokemon, but this at least lets us go into the gym to fight Winona, which has one of my favorite gym puzzles in all of Pokemon. It's a shame that it's not even really a puzzle for me anymore, since I've played Ruby and Sapphire so much to a point where I memorize every single puzzle and every single cave in the game. Anyway, the battle against Winona was actually pretty interesting, and I actually mean it this time. Her lead Swellow fell to a single headbutt, then she sent out her Pelipper and went for Protect. On the next turn it fell to a Headbutt, and this might sound like an anticlimactic battle, but then she sends out a Skarmory. Headbutt does under half damage, but at least we get the flinch. The second Headbutt doesn't knock out as she Sand attacks and then heals. She then lives 2 more Headbutts and Steel Wings, then Potions again. Here we start missing a few moves from the Sand attack, so I say screw it and Belly Drum as we take yet another Sand attack from this stupid Skarmory. We miss a Headbutt, then she misses Steel Wing just for us to connect on the next turn and finally knock out the Skarmory. In comes her Altaria, and our HP is kinda low and our accuracy is very low. We miss a Headbutt as she Dragon Dances. On the next turn, we miss again and she Dragon Dances again. On the third turn, we miss yet again and she Dragon Dances a third time. At this point, if we miss another hit, or if she's faster than us after all these Dragon Dances, we're probably dead, and this isn't an exaggeration. I just click Headbutt again, and finally break through the Sand attacks and one-shot the Altaria for the victory. There was a realistic chance we lost that fight if we missed that last turn, since 3 Dragon Dances boost Altaria's speed and attack by quite a lot. Continuing into Lilycove City, we run into a small issue with all of these Ghost-type Pokemon. We only have Pin Missile as our only non-normal type move to hit them, and that's still a pretty weak move against Ghost-type Pokemon. At least there aren't too many Ghost types for us to face at the moment in Mount Pyre, but this will be a big problem for us later on in the game. For now though, we can continue into Moss Deep City, catch a Pelipper so we can fly back to Slateport City and progress the story, clear out the Magma hideout near Lilycove City, get a Master Ball, then head east into Moss Deep City. There isn't anything we really need to do here aside from fight the gym leaders. In hindsight, I probably should have boxed everything except for Luffy for this fight, but I don't think level 3 Zigzagoons will help much against Tate and Liza anyway. They only have 2 Pokemon in this game for the double battle in Solrock and Lunatone, but we taught Surf to Luffy now, which takes care of them no problem, as our partner Zigzagoons just die. That's 7 badges already, so I called it a day there, and the next time we stream we focus on finishing the game and making Zigzagoon the champion and king of the Zigzagoons. Now, in order to make it to Sootopolis City, we need Dive, and none of our Zigzagoons or the Pelipper we caught for Fly can learn it, so I do the only logical thing. I get the Super Rod, I head south of Mauville City, I fish up a Wailmer, I catch it, I name it Your Mom, and teach it Dive so we can finally get to Sootopolis City. There was some weird lore stuff going on with Team Aqua and Team Magma between all of this, but I don't really care about that, so instead I just go right into the Cave of Origin to fight Groudon. First, we need to go back to the PC to get Abra to use Flash, since for some reason this cave is dark. Why? After getting Abra again and picking up the necessary items in the cave, we find Groudon. My spell check autocorrects Groudon to Groupon, and I always think that's pretty funny. I save in front of it at exactly the 14-hour mark, and after weakening it as much as I possibly can, I begin to spam Ultra Balls. On the face cam portion of the video, you can see me showing off this loose copy of Platinum that I got recently, so I can double hunt for Turtwig in 2 English games now. Yeah, we're still doing this, and I know, I'm insane. I even got these DSs modified so I can control them both with a DS Lite as a controller. The future is now, I say as I play a 15-plus-year-old game on 20-plus-year-old consoles. I checked out the save file of that copy of Platinum, along with another copy of Japanese Emerald I got, and found quite the surprise on the Platinum. The video is actually on my extra channel if you want to check it out in the description. Going back to the Groudon fight, eventually Luffy falls to Groudon because it broke out of so many balls, so I try again and realize that this giant fiery monster thing isn't worth the effort, so Luffy just kills this divine Pokemon, which fits in with his namesake. I actually don't know if Luffy actually kills any gods in One Piece or anything, but I'm sure he does and it kind of fits with the theme. I'm like 1,000 episodes behind, I'll catch up one day. With Groudon out of the way, we can finally face Wallace, and after knocking out his first couple of Pokemon, we invoke our Belly Drum strategy to sweep the rest of his team for our 8th and final gym badge. Now we can head on over to Victory Road, so I surf on over there and realize I forgot to teach Waterfall to your mom, and I can't teach it Waterfall right here in the water since it has 4 HM moves, so I go back to Lilycove City, delete a move, learn Waterfall, then proceed into Evergrande City. This victory road is rather tedious as it's one of the longer victory roads in all of Pokemon and requires multiple HMs to get through, even Flash. At the end of the road, we fight Wally, who still sucks, and then we can finally prepare for the Elite Four. All I really need to do to prepare was to go back to Mount Pyre and collect the Shadow Ball TM to teach to Luffy. The beauty of Shadow Ball in this situation is that in Generation 3 it's a physical move, so it can do massive damage, especially after setting up a Belly Drum. I also decided to give Luffy the King's Rock here to signify how it's about to become King of the Pirates, or King of the Zigzagoons, and deposit all of our other Pokemon, and head in with just our lone level 100 Zigzagoon. You guys are about to witness history in full 480p, as our level 100 Zigzagoon is going to destroy the Elite Four. First up is Sydney, and to assert dominance, I talk to each Elite Four member from behind to make them turn to face us. It's all about the mind games here. Sydney's Mightyena has Intimidate, so I just Belly Drum but take a Sand Attack. This was futile though, as we easily knock out the rest of his team and break through all of the misses thanks to Pin Missile being a bug type move. All of his Pokemon are weak to bug, and at one point his Sharpedo swaggered us, and since we were +6, I just used a full restore, so we didn't risk hitting ourselves in confusion and dying at +6. Next up is Phoebe, and she's the reason why I went back to get the Shadow Ball TM. I don't want Luffy to get hit by a Will-O-Wisp, so I just Shadow Ball off the rip and missed the one-shot on her lead Dusclops, but get hit by Confuse Ray. On the following turn, I just used Full Restore to get rid of the confusion, and I know some people might not like me using items in battle, but at least Luffy picked up these items on his own with his ability, so he deserves to use them. We're able to set up Belly Drum later and just sweep the rest of her team with Shadow Balls. Third up is Glacia, which is pretty annoying. Her Pokemon have a decent bit of bulk, can freeze us and go for Hail, but we can just go for Belly Drum, use some potions, and then also sweep her team with Headbutts. Fourth up is the Dragon Master Drake, and I could have taught Blizzard to Luffy to hit all of his Dragon types for super effective damage, but I didn't want to have to spend money in the game corner to get the TM, so instead I just Belly Drum as this fool goes for Protect. I forgot to heal after the Glacia fight, so here we can just heal on the next turn and then go for Headbutt on all of his dragons. Who would win? All of these giant scary dragons or one lone Zigzagoon? The answer is obvious, and it's always Zigzagoon. Next, we have the champion fight against Steven. He leads with his annoying Skarmory, but I just don't care and Belly Drum in his face and eat a Steel Wing. I then use a full restore on the next turn, take another hit, and then Headbutt for just under half damage. We skillfully dodge a Toxic, so I Shadow Ball to save PP on Headbutt, knock Skarmory into the red, and it goes for Spikes. I only have one Pokemon in my party, so Spikes is just a waste, and they call this guy a Pokemon champion. After a few more turns, Skarmory falls and in comes Armaldo. It lives a Headbutt, but we flinch and knock it out on the following turn. Then for Claydol I go for Pin Missile for some reason, when Shadow Ball easily would have knocked out as it's also weak to Shadow Ball. It lives a Pin Missile and we take an Earthquake, then I Shadow Ball on the next turn for the knockout. On Aggron I healed up, but take a decent bit from Earthquake as our Headbutts do pitiful damage to Aggron because of its insane defensive stats. There really isn't much we can do aside from spam Headbutts and hope we get a flinch and spam some healing items. This Aggron was tedious, and despite having a King's Rock and going for Headbutt over and over again, we get no flinches and finally knock out after like 12 turns. On Cradily I heal and Shadow Ball it and knock it out, leaving just his ace Pokemon, Metagross. Shadow Ball is a neutral hit in this generation on Metagross, but we get a critical hit anyway to knock it out in a pretty poetic fashion. The critical hit probably didn't matter at all since we were +6, and now we can see our glorious level 100 Zigzagoon named Luffy enter the Hall of Fame, proving that he is king of the Zigzagoons. This has to be one of the coolest Hall of Fame entries ever. Now with Zigzagoon achieving its ultimate goal, I give it the Master Ball and trade it over to my copy of Emerald version, where it can help me in future shiny hunts and also be sent over to Fire Red later for that other video I talked about previously. Let's also go check on that Rattata now and see how many levels it's gained. And there you have it. There is a single level 100 Zigzagoon beating the entire Game & Movie version after being trained up legitimately in an actual copy of the game. Was it worth it? Honestly, no, not really. But it was kind of funny, so I'll take it. Zigzagoon is often seen as a weak or joke Pokemon, and seeing as it has what it takes to take on the entire Hoenn region is pretty neat. Let this be a lesson for you, chat. It doesn't matter who you are or how long it takes you to achieve your goal. You can do anything you set your mind to, and it doesn't matter what the stats say. I mean, just look at Zigzagoon's stats. Don't listen to that voice deep inside of your head that says you can't do it. Listen to the voice that you hear right now that says you can do it, just like Luffy the Zigzagoon did to become king of the Zigzagoons, despite being a really underpowered Pokemon. For now though, the Zigzagoon will rest in my copy of Emerald version as a champion before being traded over to my copy of Fire Red for another stupid, tedious, and long challenge I plan on starting soon over on my Twitch channel, link in the description. With all that out of the way, thank you so much for watching, leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed, have a great rest of your day, I'll see y'all next time, and bye bye.